Hola, clase. So obviously we are here on Monday and I'm not here. So this was supposed to be from Friday, but since we got school canceled, I'm going to just record the videos so you can keep going with your work and we can move on with the imperfecto. So just remember, this is, if you can have your packet out and we can go through some things. So if you need to pause this video at any time, just do that now. But we're looking at this first page and we answered questions like qué hora era, qué tiempo hacía, qué estación del año era, and we said things like era otoño, era primavera maybe, or eran las 10:40 de la noche. We entered questions like qué hacía el abuelo. El abuelo, we said miraba la televisión y la abuela leía un libro. And we also answered questions like qué hacía Rodolfo, dónde estaba. We said estaba enfrente del fuego. And we also answered questions like había un gato, había dos personas, había un reloj, to say that what there was in the room. So this is the imperfecto. And so when we go to the second page, we're just going to look at some questions. When we ask questions like ¿Dónde estaban? So if you want to just take some notes along with me, we're saying, like, where were they? Like, where were the people? So oftentimes when we use imperfecto, we're talking about narrations in the past. So we could say things like estaban en la casa. And when I use estaban, clase, I'm going all the way back to my conjugations here. And this is where we're going to know. It's like hablaba for AR verbs. So since estar is also an AR verb, we're saying estaban because that's the ellos form. So aba, abas, aba, abamos, abais, aban. And then for ER and IR verbs, we're using ia. So we're saying things like comía or comías, I was eating or I used to eat, or escribía or escribías. And remember that the first and the third person are the same for all of them. So we have ia, ias, ia, íamos, iais, ian, and same for IR verbs. There's only 3 irregulars. So you have ir, iba, ibas, iba, ser, era, eras, era, and ver would be veía, veías, veía. So when we go back here, when I'm saying ¿Dónde estaban? That's using estar, saying where were they? So we could say things like estaban en la casa, estaban en una fiesta, estaban en Chicago. So we're just saying where they were. This is different than the pretérito because in the pretérito, we're saying that things happen more single past action. And this is things that were going on in the past that don't really have a time frame. It's just more kind of indefinite in the past. They could have been in Chicago for weeks, for all we know. If you're using the preterite, though, the preterite is more saying that it's more a definite amount of time. And we're going to talk a lot more about that when we compare the two in the next step to this. So then also you're going to say, and we changed this from cuando to que. So que hora era. And remember, you're going to say era la una, only for one, but if it were 2 o'clock, you would say eran las dos. Oftentimes, again, the imperfecto is used to give narrations. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There were 2 people in the room. They were at a party. That's all narrations in the past. And so we're telling stories and doing narrations. That's why it says para narrar historias. That's what it says on the top. So era temprano or tarde. We're saying, was it early or late? So we could say something like era temprano. It was early. So if you're not sure about temprano, just jot that down. Era la mañana, tarde o noche. So maybe we say era la mañana. ¿Cuál era la fecha? So maybe we're using ser, but that's era. So we could say like era el 2 de septiembre. We know how to say es el 2 de septiembre, but now we're saying era because we're talking about the past. Whenever you're talking about the date in the past, you're never going to say fue, which is the preterite. You would use era. ¿Qué tiempo hacía? ¿Hacía frío? So that's the weather. So tiempo is weather. ¿Hacía calor? Maybe. ¿Hacía viento? Was it windy? So we have calor. We have buen or mal tiempo, good or bad weather. Llovía. Remember, not all the weather expressions use hace. Sometimes we say hace calor or hace frío or hace viento, hace buen tiempo. But sometimes we just say llueve in the present. Llueve. So now we're going to say llovía because that's the verb llover, to rain. So we can say it was raining, or nevar is to snow. So maybe you say nevaba, it was snowing. Those are just different ways to talk about the weather. So then we're asking, ¿qué hacían las personas? What were they doing? What were they doing? We're not saying what did they do. We're saying what were they doing? It's kind of like an ongoing thing in the past. Hablaban, they were talking. Or maybe you say dormían. What does that mean? They were sleeping. Caminaban. So just jot these down for your English forms. Caminaban, caminar is to walk. They were walking. Maybe usaban la computadora. They were using the computer. Or maybe iban al centro comercial. They were going. Where were they going? ¿A dónde iban? That might be the question we're asking. So you could say, iban al centro comercial. They were going. So again, kind of narrating a story in the past using the imperfect. Or al laboratorio de computadoras, or ordenadores. Okay, so then let's just go to this section. So we're using the imperfecto to talk about acciones habituales or repetidas. So things that were habitual or repeated in the past. So if I say things, and that's why I told you in class when we saw each other last time, that this is things that you used to do in the past. So when we say like yo comía, oftentimes that's I used to eat. Yo comía muchas hamburguesas. I used to eat a lot of hamburgers. Or yo hablaba español mucho. So usually we'll see words like mucho or con frecuencia. We're going to see those words in a few seconds here. But this is used for acciones habituales. So yo siempre. So this word siempre is a trigger word for imperfecto because it's saying that you always did something in the past. It's not saying like one time you ate a hamburger. It's saying I always. So that's where you're using comía and not comí. Like I didn't eat a ice cream. I used to always eat an ice cream. So this is more like I used to eat. En el parque, cuando yo era una niña, when I was a child. Cuando yo era una niña. And when you talk about being a child, it's always imperfecto because you were a child for a long time, and that's when the imperfect is used. Another trigger word for imperfecto is todos los sábados. Every Saturday. We know that was a reoccurring action. It didn't happen one time. So ellos se divertían con sus abuelos. They used to have fun with their grandparents. So used to. So that's the imperfecto. Things you used to do or things you were doing in the past. These are more narraciones. So the second category, we can number these. The second category we have are narraciones or información de fondo. This is background information. You're going to do a little skit with me next time I see you. And that's when you're going to give the background information on what was going on in your story. So you could say things like we just did up here. Eran las 2 de la mañana y la gente dormía. So in this case, we're saying the people were sleeping. Profundamente, deeply. Era el 27 de febrero. Again, as I just told you, you never use the pretérito to say what the date was in the past. You always use the imperfecto. So you're saying era. Acciones progresivas. This is our third time. These are actions in progress. So things that were happening. ¿Qué hacían los Smith? What were they doing? Durante el robo de su apartamento, during the robbery of their apartment. Dormían. Try to think about what does dormían mean? They were sleeping. So that's something that was going on in the past. El teléfono sonaba. It was ringing. Y nadie estaba. Nobody was in the house. Tú querías tener un novio. You wanted to have a boyfriend. So in this case, we know that you wanted to have that boyfriend over time. We don't really know how long. The other word that we see a lot in the imperfecto is the word mientras. So let's jot that down. So if I say like mientras yo dormía, while I was sleeping, ella comía. So oftentimes we see that word mientras to say that something was going on while something else was happening. So make sure you know that mientras is while. Mientras yo dormía, ella comía. She was eating. So then you're going to see all of these words. So we have por lo general. You're going to need these for your homework assignment for tonight. Generalmente, de niño, as a child, frecuentemente. So these are all words that use the imperfecto because they indicate that it was a repetition or things that happened over time or repeatedly. De vez en cuando, once in a while. A veces, sometimes. Cada día or cada mañana. Con frecuencia, that's it's a trigger word, like muchas veces or en aquella época, muchas veces, nunca, todos los días. That's another one. We're going to know it's imperfecto and not preterite. And then siempre. These we don't have to pay attention to at this moment just because we're not talking about the differences so much right now. But make sure that you can conjugate your imperfecto. Study these for sure. This is a song we'll be doing when I come back. And then let's go all the way down here. So what I want you to do right now in class is I would like you to change these sentences over from the present tense to the imperfecto. So use your notes as much as you need to. You can work together and just change them over to the imperfect. And then just read over these comics, maybe read together with a partner. So antes tenía mucho trabajo. So here we have some sentences. Cuando era pequeño, vivía en un pueblo pequeño. Antes en Navidad, íbamos a la casa de mis padres. So read those with a partner. And then here's some more. Just look at these. Don't worry about these so much over here, but look at these top couple here. And then what I want you to do here is just pick, let's do definitely the irregulars. So we'll do ser, we'll do ir, and we'll do ver. But then you can pick, and then I want you to try to write a sentence in the imperfecto with your new words that you know, and then do the rest of them too. So you're going to just conjugate about 8 imperfect words. The last thing you have to do for me is you're going to have a homework assignment, and that is going to be over on the desk. You'll see it right over. It's labeled Español 3. So you're going to need to use your Quizlet words. You were supposed to write them into your notebook. So hopefully you have those. And so I want you to do just 1 through 19. This is a graded homework assignment. So work on this with your partner. You don't have to do the second part. We'll do that in class. But just try to go through these. But I'm going to grade this. So this will be your homework for the next time I see you. And that's everything for class today. Muchas gracias, estudiantes.